We're back. We are officially beginning the year here, January 3rd. Yesterday they work in Germany, but not in North America. Anyway, welcome back. Artist Journal, January 3rd, 2023. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, and I am in Berlin, Germany, broadcasting to this wide world about this international digital art scene from Indonesia to Uzbekistan to Uruguay to Massachusetts and more. So welcome back, everyone. Huge shout out to everyone just for making my life so much fun, really. I was going for a coffee after the gym, which is, I work better. I call it mobile art, and maybe even in my world, I'm not sure if that's still the right term, but I do a ton of work on my phone, and I find it's really hard to do mobile art, as I call it, say work on an iPhone or iPad or whatever your mobile tablet is. I find it hard, at least to do the phone work at home, because I'd rather use a tablet at home or even Photoshop or whatever. So I almost need to go to like a coffee shop yesterday. Anyways, I was at Starbucks at Hackscher Markt, not Market, but Markt, as my girlfriend says. And it was so much fun to just be working on art, answering tweets. You guys gave me a ton of retweets on the Manifold print or open edition. So that is a huge... it was just awesome. And like there were 15, which to me, I mean, as it's almost a cliche now, like everybody says, I can't believe how many people are minting, for me as well. And it's just an awesome feeling. And there truly is, I mean, the word community is kind of an overused term. So I just want to say this is an awesome scene. It's a very, very cool digital scene. And I'm going to have a little bit more to say about that actually through What is Iana had this great post. Anyways, this is Santiago. He just put out, he's new on Super Rare. This is his second work. Super duper interesting artist. Let me just show you what's going on. So an abstract, right? Let me just show you what's going on with this modern day Pollock, who calls himself Santiago. Maybe Santiago was taken. So look at just what he says here. Because this is important. You might say, okay, nice kind of shapes and everything. But for me, the process here is super interesting. First of all, this thing is massive. It's 13,395 by 1,000. That actually must be wrong. Because if that was 13,000 by 1,000, well, it would be like a wide rectangle. But anyways, I think it's by 10,000 because his last one was by 10,000. We're going to look in a second. Exported from an SVG made on Inkscape. The vector shapes are sourced from my personal observations regarding the intersection of body and language, created using prompts to image tools, scanned acrylic paintings, and digital paintings produced in GIMP. Okay, so we see the process here. This is not like some amateur process, is my point. This is the kind of process you expect to find in a professional art scene. Okay, this is impressive. So then you go back and you go, oh, look at everything that is going on here. So a new work from Santiago. So heads up, minted at 3 a.m. Yeah, see, it's by 10,000 here, 10 megabytes, PNG, so a massive file. Here is his last one. Okay, and kind of really cool titles as well. This sold to Anonymous for 0.3, so you can still get a one-of-one super rare Santiago work. At least the last one went for reasonable price. I mean, 0.3, and once you understand everything that's going on in here, this is not just like someone, splashing some paint on a canvas here. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is a lot going on here. Many other digital paintings were destroyed to feed this one. So GIMP, Inkscape, P5JS. So anyways, I think it's looking great. I love that kind of off-color, like kind of cream background, and even the ratio, like Wide is not commonly used, I would say, in digital, because I think most of us are looking on a phone or a tablet. It's, vertical is a lot more common. Like I have a series, The Peloponnesian War, and I kind of purposefully made it. I kind of love trading cards, so I wanted to use that as a format. But I also knew, okay, that'll work on Instagram, which was, important, and on digital, on the social media. So anyways, it's kind of refreshing, is sort of my point here, to see some horizontal, some landscape, works. Continuing on, so something I missed in Agor's question yesterday, what do you think about making Q&A video? So that, Agor, is what this is for. The Rug Radio Artist Journal Twitter Spaces. And I'm very excited for this one. We have Runetoon is coming on to co-host, and our mystery co-host, he has an open invitation to come on. I think he can have like 3 or 4. But Runetoon sounds like he's up for the weekly battle here, which is awesome. He just put out a bunch of notes. I think it's going to be great. And so we're going to discuss the shifting landscape and trends in the NFT market in 2023. So I have just posted this. Is the NFT art market in a new phase? And, this scene changes so fast. And here we are in a new year. I am definitely seeing the ground shift with Tezos, these open editions. And just as kind of the crypto scene collapses to a certain degree, relative to where it was, it's fascinating to see this digital art use case power forward right through that. So anyways, there's going to be a ton to discuss. Runetoon put together a ton of notes, so we have a ton of topics. So it would be awesome. So Agor, join the Twitter Spaces, and if you can't make it, send me your questions on Twitter. Just message me your questions, and we'll discuss them on here. That's what this is for. And if you have any questions, dear viewer, feel free to just bring whatever you have. It's also an open lines, of sorts here. So anyway, that is happening tomorrow, Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you are in Berlin, you can meet me, and I'm going to meet Bob here, who I was talking about. I can't wait to ask him about Berghain on New Year's Eve. There's a show here at kind of a really cool kind of landmark in Berlin, Kino International. That is tomorrow night from 8 to 11:30. There's going to be a screening at 10. Anyways, if you're local, come say hi. I'll be there at 8 to meet my friend Bob, and we're going to hang out there. And yeah, of course, we know a lot of the people. Leo Quelb's collection, he's the guy that did the Manhattan Bridge stuff. And good friend Christopher Winter, he shows at Sotheby's, or like his work is at Sotheby's and everything. They're all going to be there. They're super friendly people. So if you're a local, come hang out. That would be awesome. Huge shout out to the collectors here. 15 minted. This is, honestly, when I saw the first 2 mint, I just kind of breathed a sigh of relief and said, okay, this isn't a disaster. And so you can imagine how great I feel, again, being at Starbucks yesterday, waking up this morning again and seeing 15 of the works here minted on Manifold XYZ. So that is too exciting and too much fun. So thank you, everyone. There are 12 hours left. So when you watch this, it'll probably just be ending if you depending on when you watch it. But it basically goes to the end of the day today. So another 12 hours. So you will have time if you watch this on a daily basis. And I really like this comment, which is what I was mentioning in the opening there. What is Ayana, who has kind of had some recent success here after a very quiet beginning? Again, Uda Museum, but also an artist. I'm so glad I didn't give up. This is a community of kind people. I'm glad to be here. Thank you. Every once in a while, you come across a message that's written that just speaks pure kind of truth, at least from his perspective, and it just rings. And this is just a tweet from the heart. And it's just, and I just love this. Okay, so, Being an artist is not an easy profession. It's not an easy, undertaking, okay? It is a calling, and yeah. So here, what is Ayana had every reason in the world to give up. I remember buying one piece of an edition of 10, and none of the others sold, and then he ended up burning them. This piece here, and I also bought this piece, and yeah, and now it's a one of one, right? And now, like, you look at his prices here, 69, 150, like everything is basically sold out. And so he's doing really well. This was just released like a week ago, maybe less, Drunkard. A really nice AI work. And again, what is Ayana does digital painting. I'm having some internet issues here, actually, so I guess, unfortunately, but this is a really nice work released last week. He combines AI and digital painting, which is how he first kind of turned my head with these very attractive works here. So anyways, very cool. And here he is on Foundation. And look at this. Current bid 0.2. So now he's on Foundation. And look, like everything is sold. Strange Thing bought this really nice piece. Sold for 0.15. Strange Thing owns this piece. Sold for 0.15 to Clown Vamp. So, 10 collectors, you just have to love it. So again, I totally agree. This is something very special. This is a community of kind people. So if you are just watching this on YouTube and kind of have a skewed version of crypto, well, the digital art scene is its own scene here. And it does come out of crypto, and we're proud about that, but it's its own scene here. So there's a lot of great things happening here, is my point. Speaking of Manifold XYZ, so Richard, who runs Manifold XYZ, Richard.eth, a big kind of player, big voice in the space. Last week, Open Edition NFTs on Manifold helped creators earn over 1,300 ETH, $1.6 million. And again, we're in a bear market here, people. We are in a bear market, and here, $1.6 million to artists. And this isn't from applying for a grant. This isn't for applying for anything. This is putting your art. This was achieved on creators' own smart contracts and without a front page. Like, you're not applying for anything. Okay? That is awesome. You are not applying for anything. We've always believed that the creator is the platform, and this is proving to be true. So cool, right? How cool is that? And look at this work from an artist. Now, if there's one thing maybe I would change on Manifold is, you see how many times I've come here and then I don't know who the artist is? Because if you don't have .eth here, see, if you have your .eth, then you're registered. But if that's not attached to your contract, then you don't know who the artist is unless they say added as. So that's one comment I'd have. So anyways, I wish I knew who this was. The Harvest, if you look it up, I'm going to have to be more careful with that. Now, my internet, unfortunately, so we might have to look at it like this. I think I already loaded it up. So I think we can pray that we will get some audio here. We might have to come back to this. Here we go. Yeah. Okay, we're going to come back to this. All right. So I'm going to mute that so it doesn't start playing in the middle. Interesting comment here from Giuliano de Medici. Just like digital art decoupled from PFPs, profile picture projects, digital art collectors have decoupled from speculators. Now, I'm not sure that's entirely true. I think, once a degen, always a degen when it comes to the crypto scene. But I take the point, and this is kind of, I think, what I've been kind of suggesting for a while in a different way, which is this idea that digital art, arguably, other than money transfer, is becoming the main use case for crypto, at least in this bear market, and that may all change. Probably eventually stocks will go as tokens and everything, right? You know, everything will probably be tokenized at some point. But for the time being, like, you know, digital art, like that's what I see when I load up my Twitter. And I follow a lot of crypto projects, just a legacy from yesteryear. But isn't it interesting? I think I take their point, which is digital art is, you know, a lot of people are becoming collectors. And once you start, it's kind of like it's hard to stop. You know, so now I do think there is I think that's also part of the reason this is happening is because there's a heavy speculative element to buying this art, because there is a sense that, like, if you're on Tezos right now, there is a sense that this is some seriously undervalued art that could pay off generously in the future. So I don't know if you'll ever separate digital art collecting or art collecting in general from speculation, but I take Giuliano's point here. Here is a beautiful work, also Manifold XYZ, an open edition from Kristen Roos. So let's just open this up. And how cool is that, right? So using, again, what he calls vintage software, what I sometimes call retro tools, same difference, a very, very nice open edition. And this goes on for another 3 days. So a city created with the techniques assisted with early video computer systems and early personal computers, raster bars, and color cycling, using colors common on the Atari 2600, Atari 8-bit computers, and in demos of the Commodore Amiga. I didn't even know there was a Commodore Amiga. So anyways, you can read the whole thing, and you gotta love how small this is, 960 by 540 pixels. So very cool work from Kristen Roos. Shall we just check very quickly and see if this is working? Okay, it appears to not. Okay, we'll have to come back. Continuing on with Kristen Roos, so raster bar, so a bit of background on some of the techniques. Okay, so he goes more into his process here, but this is what I wanted to show. The knitting, or whatever it is, the weaving that's going on that you can see is inspired by his digital artworks. So again, one of my favorite themes and what I consider the most contemporary of art conversations is traveling through the mediums. And here we see digital work that is being woven. What I also find interesting about this is it's being woven manually. You know, like my temptation, I've sort of thought of, oh, I could turn this work into a tapestry. And the first thing I do is look online and search for tapestry, digital image to tapestry, where I can just order it and then just send me my tapestry. What I kind of find interesting about this is how he's decided to do it manually, which is kind of cool. It's very cool. And here you see more of it in process here. So just really, really cool. Trying something new with the new loom. So there you go, Kristen Roos traveling through the mediums. Ezra Eslin, so much good art here, I'm lost. Exactly. And again, this kind of speaks to what we were saying earlier from Giuliano there. Speaking of good art, look at this. First of all, look at this tweet by Uxine. I mean, it was hilarious. Hopefully, like, you come down, like, even the tweet is quite brilliant, and even just these dots and everything. And you come down, and I guess there's a few things that just really stood out here. This kind of beam that's coming out of the skull, like, look at this texture. Look at this rough texture that Uxine is making. And he employs all sorts of tricks, as you can see here. And this contrast between this sort of like green kind of sharp edge stuff like we see on the TV here, and this kind of like painterly, you know, friar's gear replacing the head with a skull. So anyways, speaking of good art, you know, Uxine on the scene. And someone else was saying, I set up a Tez wallet, Scrotaldino. I set up a Tez wallet purely to acquire some Uxine's work, and I'm very glad I did. This lot cost me about $120 5 weeks ago. It's worth a hell of a lot more now. A one of one in 2023 is on my mind. Yeah, like, good luck. The one just went for $2,000. Okay, so, and you can see here, like, this edition of 111, 29, If you want to buy this edition of 11, you're going to have to spend $369. Question authority, $369. And I brought up his page. And yeah, like, I mean, this one of one here, I remember seeing this for it's like 123 Tezos. Now it's going for 6,900. Okay, and that's not a crazy price for a one of one when you just see the exponential rise. Like, look at these prices: 250, not available; 888, 666, 475. You know, and offers that are serious of 90, 93. You know, so anyways, again, so Uxine, just to show you the page here, and again, I'd love to show you more, but oh, good, it loads up. So this one here, this sold for 2,000. Okay, and that was, someone just went on a buying spree. Rhinotic here just went on, spent like a fortune on Uxine, so probably got a good deal. Okay, let's quickly just see if we can find this work here, the harvest. Okay, we might be in luck here, and let's get some volume and see if we can unmute it. So anyways, just quickly going back in time here, guys. Just a very cool work on Manifold, and then we'll jump back. So, nice piece. Glad we were able to get that shown here. That is for very cheap, 0.005, and available for another 4 days. So anyways, Uxine is rocking and rolling if you haven't seen, and yeah, beautiful work here. Can't wait to see the next, what he puts out next. Continuing on, Dexter has this very nice work here. Again, combining the static with the dynamic here, which is kind of his style, and these kind of off-kilter compositions. And this one's slightly more on kilter, and just beautiful, you know, the road here, the beach. I think he has a German title on this. What is it called? Blauer Strand. So available for $350. So just a beautiful artwork here. 3,000 by 3,000. Continuing on, Bazaya is doing very well in this auction here. There are 3.5 hours left. I was trying to figure out what was going on here. Prompt, a lot of Gucci and AI fashion. I text that to myself to draw this piece that is inspired in Strange Thing AI fashion contest. Never too much Gucci. So anyways, so this obviously is a reference to Strange Things, you know, iconic AI work here. And there are some works by Bazaya in the background, and this looks like the Gucci dude with some Gucci wear. And so anyways, this is going for 170 Tezos for this one of one. And Kurt Hustle Collective is back with the Puppet Pioneers, Mako Flaco. So he's got some new ones, and yeah, let's see if we can make this bigger. So anyways, I am a huge fan of this, and for those that haven't seen, I'll show you something else. Okay, first I'll show you this video here. So this has been going out to people too. I'm not sure if you buy Mako Flaco, but he's got a video cassette of Puppet Pioneers. So for those that haven't seen, and pray our internet works here, like this is an earlier NFT. So for those that aren't familiar with the Puppet Pioneers, this is the Puppet Pioneers. This trailer was put out a year ago. It's only 8 Tezos right now. You can get it on secondary for next to nothing. It is a Kurt Hustle Collective classic. So if you're wondering kind of what it's all about, and I think he might have more in the pipeline from the Puppet Pioneers. And the characters are awesome, as we've kind of noted like several months ago. So anyways, just super glad to see KHC back. What's the name of this guy? Bossman Bobby. What was the other guy? Mako Flaco. Okay, awesome. Okay, as we go into pixel art here, Stalomir New year, new adventures. I wish all our heads to be calm in 23 for your health. So anyways, interesting. Again, edgy pixel art here. This is not just, someone that likes video games and is deciding they're going to translate that into, something simple here, like playing with some different concepts. You look at the color, the overlapping, the unusual patterning in the background. So anyways, very interesting. Capin with a new work. Good to see him. Chaosmos. In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. Very cool. So a very nice work released in the last day by Capin. Kind of meditative work. And continuing on, just some new mech.txt works that have been posted on Twitter. And big shout out to him. We've been collecting a little bit of his work. And look at this beautiful piece here. There are already some offers. Usually he does a bit of a lottery. He keeps it pretty cheap, considering what he could charge. And so anyways, beautiful colors again. This almost looks like a sunset of sorts. So some mountains here. Trails of hope, even when I walk through a valley of deep darkness, I will not be afraid because you are with me. And so this seems to be referencing the New Testament. I think I saw a tweet. He's like, I'm not a religious person, but this line speaks to me. Very cool. A few kind of interesting developments with Byte by Bit. So, of course, here is another nebula, kind of an edgy one. So interesting, right? Kind of not your typical nebula here. Started putting out some constellations. So I just love Byte by Bit's solutions here, like, because, you have this this retro software tool. What are you going to do with it? And I've loved the nebula solution. Why don't you just do some nebulas, create, combine space with pixel art? And it's kind of educational too, which is kind of fun. And here's another one, Pixel Planet Aries Constellation. So you can learn your constellations while collecting pixel art, a one of one. And this was burned. He's got a new version. I'm not sure if my internet's going to be, it's kind of flaking out here. So you'll have to visit his page. Here is Andromeda, or Andromed. And so anyways, you can learn your constellations while hanging out with Byte by Bit. Tom Battle, Relax. So a nice piece here that was just also released yesterday with one of his characters with the skull and everything. Again, kind of love these shadows. I think the shadows are my favorite part, actually. Just this very simple shadowing. Anyways, very cool series here from Tom Battle. New work from Ed Marola. You gotta love how prolific these guys are. So this is called Ganja Farm, Tego Dago infused cannabis production. Interesting soundtrack. Again, the sound working as a kind of atmosphere, and to enhance your aesthetic experience here. Nice little thing in the background here. And we're looking at Ed Marola's process yesterday, which he was sharing some pretty good information in there, and you start to see, oh, that's how these brilliant textures are made. This is pretty sophisticated. Is this pixel art? He's calling it pixel art. It's pretty sophisticated pixel art, okay? Like, where are you finding more sophisticated pixel art? Other than in this digital art scene that we have here, this crypto digital art scene. Another interesting piece here, everyone in, edition of 100, and you see just a ton of people kind of put in, and you wonder if he drew them all separately or if they're copied. I assume that, what he probably did, if I had to theorize? It's almost like a pattern on clothing you could make out of this. He probably turned the person into a brush and probably had different people and then just sprinkled them all over the place, if I had to guess. So anyways, cool work. Everyone in, totally unique. Never seen a work like that. And just pushing things here, Pixels, 2023, Onka Eating Hunter, kind of reminiscent of Henri Rousseau a little bit, of these kind of cheetahs in the middle of kind of a jungle scene. I mean, that's not quite what we have here. More in Ed Marola's style. And, the Onka, which I guess is the name of this animal, is eating the hunter. Interesting diagonal lines here, too. So there's a ton of experimentation here. is kind of why I keep coming back to Ed Marola. This is not like simple art. Nothing wrong with simple art either. A new Stairwave. So these minted out, and again, pretty reasonable prices here if you want to build your collection. Also so this is Iteration. So a new staircase. These totally look like they're done in AI. Correct me if I'm wrong, Iteration, if you happen to see this. So pretty nice stairwells. I love the theme, and they've kind of been a big hit. Another work from Joanne, and just, again, more beautiful AI and painting here. And Shilly Preston with a really interesting AI work. So again, you see the AI distortion in the face here. And I thought this was a very successful piece. Like, I think you could take this style and make a whole series. Kind of has a bit of a Matisse feel to it. I love these outlines here. And for me, this is like one of the big promises of AI. Like, when you look at this couch here, it feels like almost like a style I've never seen before. And it's a simple style, and it's not easy to make simple styles. But to me, this feels like, and maybe you disagree here. Maybe I'm waxing too poetic here. But anyways, kind of interesting movement going on here. Shilly Preston, 1 of 1 for 30 Tezos. This was also interesting from Taj NFT. So it looks like 3 weeks away from delivery. So AI art. Interesting things going on here. So this is found on Twitter. And what I find interesting here is kind of, first of all, this pixelation combined with this portrait. The pixelation in the image seems to be, like, you see the blurred in the background? It seems to be on the wall, but then it looks like maybe there was some other squares that were maybe added after, would be my first thought. But then you look at the circle and it's actually not perfect. You almost see a bit of a AI distortion and you go, maybe this is just raw AI. But I just thought an original piece. So interesting take. And I love how, it's kind of like an understated thing here, the floor. But these diagonal lines making the cubes contrast quite nicely with the pixelation, don't they? So interesting piece here. Polly Jojo. So I missed this piece. This came out December 29th. And of course, for all you New Order fans here, this is kind of an underplayed album. One of their best albums, Technique. And I love this piece. This is AI in Photoshop. And there's Power, Corruption, and Lies on the side. True Faith on the right. So if you're a New Order fan, there's a lot to like here with Polly Jojo's work here. So a younger woman painting the cover of New Order's Technique. The Technique, buy for 5, edition of 10. So very cool AI Photoshop work. Another AI work, Anna Dart. I'm not sure if we've looked at her work before, but I just thought an interesting portrait where the kind of almost like Moonchild, I think is the name of the artist. So anyways, just kind of interesting work here, interesting color. I mean, there's so many things going on in AI that can inspire you. And again, just stuff you might never do, like this neck here. Again, so irrational. That's what I find so kind of one of the things, like there are decisions, just like we're seeing in the outline of that couch, your rational brain would not want to make that decision. And so I just find it profoundly ironic that through artificial intelligence machines doing rational things, we're getting totally irrational outputs. Like we see here, almost like brush strokes on the neck, but that are half fashion. Again, the hair, these irrational outputs. Now this was kind of funny, right? Because it kind of looks like Dan Control, but it's actually Eilay. And I'm wondering, I wonder to myself in my journal, my private journal shared publicly here, has Eilay cracked the code of Dan Control's ASCII works here? Because we see here exploration of ASCII generated image, right? And then we go to our next thing, ASCII lavender rose. So that last one, what was it called? Hibiscus, right? So these are flowers. If you said this was a Dan Control, and it was a higher resolution version, I might not doubt you. So anyways, pretty hilarious. Has the code been cracked? Charles AI, some just interesting commentary as usual. 2021, testing out GANs and diffusion models. So he's talking about AI. 2022, controversy around Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, DALL-E, and the explosion of AI art NFTs. 2023, year of wider trad art acceptance. Not a huge extrapolation from my perspective. I think starting to use the tools over here, to me, it's unquestionable that this is a new art form because it really requires a lot of creativity to come up with something that's different, that's cool, that it's its own thing, like Charles AI and a lot of these artists that we look at, Mr. Shapeless and more, have done. So, yeah, probably. Between Order and Chaos, so some new works from Charles AI as well, GM. Interesting. So playing with this, again, ancient Rome theme, and you have almost like an orator, almost like a wanderer type figure, like we're discussing the Caspar David Friedrich guy on the cliff from behind, that trope. We were also seeing this trope in Mr. Shapeless. This is super interesting what's going on here with these kind of panels over here. So again, this is where the AI tech becomes truly AI, and again, these irrational clouds. I mean, who would draw these kind of clouds just normally? You'd say that's wrong, you know? So here's another one, very similar kind of idea, concept for a piece. Here, what is it called? Follow the JPEGs. Good night. So again, our wanderer type figure, but more meeting up with this person here. Again, ancient Roman tropes with the columns here and the city and the togas, but mixed here with modern television screens and seeming to have, you know, other images from this kind of series in them in the screens below, and kind of like almost like a Senate type work, or what would you call it? Like a relief of like one of those tombs, you know, kind of theme in these top wide works. So anyways, interesting work from Charles AI. Mr. Shapeless, so this is, I believe, is going to be released on Super Rare today, January 3rd. So again, beautiful work here, our wanderer type figure over a landscape with some beautiful shapes in the sky. So I assume that will be on Super Rare from this message here. And some more works from Mr. Shapeless here. So just really interesting clouds, mountains, and city. And I think we have another. This was released, actually. He did a surprise drop on Object yesterday. And what was so interesting about this, look at what he sold it for. 2 Tezos. And then it was listed, Brain Dogo picked up 2 of them out of the 3. So that person knew what was happening. And now offers for 25, 42. So anyways, Mr. Shapeless, that's super cool, isn't it? A surprise drop on Tezos, okay? And this is kind of an interesting part of this piece here. It's almost like there's a frame on the top and the bottom that he left in, which is interesting. Sea of Emptiness, again, really cool, kind of suggestive clouds. And finally, another work, GM 2023, again, these kind of wild clouds here and shapes in the sky with these colors. Anyways, beautiful work from Mr. Shapeless. This I just saw on Twitter. I think maybe this is a photo that's maybe something done with it in Photoshop. The most unromantic sunset you can imagine, but still so beautiful, Tegenhoff. So I assume this was done by Tegenhoff. I couldn't find it on their object. It might be there it might be somewhere out there, but I just thought it was an interesting take on a sunset. A square sun. So simple. And Gora, I think this is physical. Immensity Explorer, because I think we've looked at Gora in the past, and I think it's been digital. So as you can see here, just, you know, in their style, but black and white. So this is available. It's a 1 of 1 for 200 Tezos on Object. So that is by Gora, who put out that spectacular work on Super Rare, which sold, by the way. Cool, another cool physical work, this time by Walk in collaboration with Fake Whale. So really nice kind of motorcyclist winning. I'm just a huge fan. If you ask me who is dominating the spray paint world, the world of making art out of spray paint, it is easily Walk. Like, this is a beautiful work. He sometimes sells his work, like on Object or on Ethereum. Like, I think he's even tried eBay. I think you can get spectacular, if you're a physical art collector, you might want to check out Walk's work. And that, my friends, is your show. Thanks once again for joining me. Hopefully I see some of you on Twitter Spaces tomorrow. I think it's going to be a great one. RuneToon will be there too. So I hope you enjoy your day. Until next time, take care.